Hello, so for my honors contract, I wanted to talk about the Nachhaltigkeit Deutschland, which is also called the sustainability of Germany. Recently, a lot of countries and global leaders have been doing their best to figure out how to live sustainably, given our dwindling resources and our ever-growing population. Before I go any further, it's important to ask, what is sustainability? To live sustainably is to ensure that every generation is responsible enough to resolve the environmental challenges that they are facing, rather than just neglecting them and allowing them to fester and become something much worse than it needs to be, making it much harder for future generations to deal with. What makes it really difficult for a country to be seen as sustainable is the fact that it's a nationwide objective. Decisions are made at the government level, but it affects everyone from the manufacturer to the consumer. People are being asked to do with less, and they're coming up with innovative ways to use resources without harming the environment. And Germany has done an incredible job of demanding its citizens to set aside their differences and do their part to make a change for the better. Their government has been leading the way in developing ambitious environmental policies. They have steps towards sustainable development and environmental protection that are nothing short of innovative, making Germany an excellent example of how a clean, low-carbon economy can occur simultaneously with the country's growth. A big way they're doing this is through international policy. Germany is leading the way for sustainable development in a large number of ways, while promoting renewable energy through the European Union, and being part of the EU has definitely contributed to Germany's success. Since the Union has decided to create an energy policy, Germany's policies are driven by both their own legislation and legislation originating from the NU. For example, in 2009, a major piece of renewable energy legislation was passed by the Union, and it demanded that each member country become more reliant on renewable energy by 2020 in order to increase the total usage from 8.5% in 2010 to 20%. Additionally, Germany is part of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or the OECD. It was formed in 1961, and in 2012, the OECD Environmental Performance Review rated Germany's resource productivity as one of the highest levels among OECD countries, which means that they're getting their resources from their recycling materials and reusing things and not creating new materials every time they need it, which has a huge list of consequences. Additionally, Germany is also one of the few countries that have been able to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions to almost nothing. It's basically 0%. These initiatives have given Germany the opportunity to create both a sustainable country, and they've been able to continue to boost their economy by investing in smarter resources. At the national level, they have done quite a bit more on their own, which really sets them aside from other countries, I think. To begin, they have the energy efficiency concept, which was created for an environmentally sound, reliable, and affordable energy supply. They have plans to expand the renewable energies from 17% today to 80% in 2050, which is outlined in this energy efficiency concept. At the same time, they plan to get rid of nuclear power plants entirely and no longer get their energy from there. Lastly, they plan to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. In the same time frame that they plan to get rid of nuclear power plants, they plan to reduce it by 80%, making it even closer to zero. I can't keep going because Germany has over 100 specific goals with detailed time frames to better manage their electricity, heat, and transportation pollution. In 2002, Germany introduced the National Strategy for Sustainable Development. This ensures that from that point forward, all national policies would be made with the intention of contributing to a sustainable community. The main objectives of this strategy are to encourage intergenerational equity, which would stem from enforcing global responsibility onto future generations and current generations, a quality of life, and social cohesion. It's updated every 4 years to stay modern and relevant, and the last change was in 2016, and it was made to better match the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are detailed in Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Some of these goals are to eliminate poverty and hunger, make clean water, education, gender equality, and sanitation available to all people, regardless of their social status. And they want to create sustainable cities through climate change and clean, affordable energy. By creating these clear and concise targets and consistently checking the results with sustainability indicators and regular progress reports, Germany has been able to keep up with their own rigorous requirements and create a global responsibility to help combat this growing issue. They've also taken creative steps towards dealing with a decreasing biodiversity, climate change, energy, and resource efficiency. Speaking of resource efficiency, they have a resource efficiency program. It's comprehensive, and it is meant to deal with the issue of using raw materials and resources, which I mentioned are detrimental to our environment. It takes a ton of energy to access and clean and make these raw materials even usable, so not to mention the fact that when we favor the use of new materials over older, still useful materials that could just need to be recycled or fixed up a bit, we're contributing to landfills, because that's what they're being sent to. Germany's goal is to increase their economic growth while getting as far as possible from new resource use, which would be helpful for both the environment and their economy, because they're not introducing new materials at every step of the manufacturing process. What I think is particularly notable, though, is that through their efficiency advice and supporting environmental management programs that they've put in place, along with their previous legislation, they're also making it easier for small and medium-sized local businesses. So they're in no way leaving people to fend for themselves in favor of being deemed a sustainable city. They're also doing a bunch more other than just creating laws all the time, which is what it seems like they're doing through this. But to begin, they've established their dominance in the marketplace with various green technologies, and they've created plenty of jobs in the environmental field supporting their legislation. Of course, there are some downsides to being a sustainable city. In early 2011, gas prices in Germany cost a little over $7, which is double the price of fuel in the US. The price difference is almost entirely because of taxes, though. Germany's high rates on oils and other fuels can be dated back to pre-war times, but it wasn't until the late 1990s that these high taxes became important for the environmental movement. They started being put to different things in 1998, when a new fiscal system was introduced by a center-left coalition of Social Democrats and Green Party members. And it was made to initiate a reduction of taxes on the labor sector and shift that to energy consumption. So gas prices have since dropped because of this. Businesses in Germany are also doing their part to contribute to a sustainable society. For instance, a ton of them are part of the United Nations Global Compact Initiative, but worldwide only around 9,500 businesses are. So it definitely needs some more support, but Germany's making headlines. Additionally, they also have the Alliance for Sustainable Textiles, or sometimes called the Partnership for Sustainable Textile, and it was created by the Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development in 2014 with the intention of helping people who work for the demanding and sometimes deadly clothing industry. This group was made to better manage the resources being used at clothing factories and to help people in countries with a lower HDI who do backbreaking work for small amounts of money. Roughly 50% of the German textile market is part of this organization, and they have plans to increase it to 75%. When it comes to transportation, Germany is also doing incredible things. For instance, they have trains that can take you anywhere in the city, kind of like a light rail, but they're called Deutschbahns. Being part of a sustainable city means that you can get across the city easy and quickly without the use of personal automobiles. And they've also introduced e-bikes, and larger cities have bicycle rental areas at all their train stations. For outer city travel, they have a low-priced charter bus company called Flixbus, which has since expanded to the US and can even be seen driving down rural. All the transportation systems in Germany have systematic links among regional transport authorities, which means that it is cheaper and easier to use public transportation, which is a much more climate-friendly way to get around. Lastly, sustainability can also be seen in their food and drink. Restaurants have committed to using locally sourced ingredients, and even through all of this, their food is still as epic as ever. German restaurants are actually very accepting of these changes coming into their city, and they uphold a higher level of training to focus on their quality. But already around 23,000 organic farms have committed to using traditional and environmentally friendly cultivation methods. And organic products in Germany are easily spottable in any farmer's market because they are marked with a quality seal. So from cradle to grave, these resources are being used in a sustainable and efficient way. Lastly, beer can be sustainable too. Can't talk about Germany without talking about beer. And the German beer purity law, which I had no idea existed, has been in place for 500 years. No matter where the beer comes from, be it your local market or the brewery from your favorite German city, this beer consists purely of hops, malt, yeast, and water. Since Germany's sustainability initiatives have taken place, these 4 ingredients have become available in organic varieties as well. And that's all I have to say.